And a good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. It's time for another edition of Daily Distinction. I hope you're doing well and hope things are good wherever you are. We are having a little bit of a cool off today in Las Vegas. Just checked the temp here on my watch, and it is only 101 right now at noon in Vegas. You got to remember, we've been at 113 here. So getting down to 101, that sounds pretty good to me. So I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Thank you for taking time to join me today. It's always great having you here for Daily Distinction. I think an interesting topic to talk about. The topic is capacity. And we're going to focus on what happens with your capacity. That's it. And Charles, always great to see you, my friend. Glad everything is good for you in Silicon Valley. It sounds like a great place to be. I have my, I changed my backdrop, as you can see. I'm kind of in a Maui, Kauai mood. So it's one of the great things about we've got the studio set up. I can be wherever I want to be right today. Hey, 30 degrees cooler in San Jose. Man, that sounded pretty fantastic, Charles. I'll tell you that cool off is sounded great. And Brian, great to hear that you have bought your ticket for UBS. I'm excited that you are going to be a part of it. Man, we've got so many great things going on with UBS. It's really, really exciting what's happening there. And I can't wait. And I'm really glad that you're going to be there as a part of it. If you're wondering what Brian is talking about, it is the Ultimate Business Summit. And it's coming up on August 13th and 14th. Larry Winget, Randy Pennington, and I have done the Ultimate Business Summit. It started out with 5 of us. And Joe Calloway and Mark Sanborn decided to focus their time and effort and resources on other things. And as you know, we're still great pals. Matter of fact, both of them are joining us to give a little talk on their field of expertise at the Ultimate Business Summit this year. But Larry, Randy, and I have continued it then for another 3 years. And we have decided this is going to be our final one. We each have our own projects that we're working on. And as you might imagine, it is really time consuming to put this together and to go through everything that it takes to make this successful. So we've decided this is going to be our last one. And then with the pandemic and everything that happened, it's going to be virtual. Man, you cannot believe the hoops we were jumping through here in Vegas because no hotel really knew at the time that we were talking about it, would they be open or would they not? Or how would they be open? Matter of fact, one of the hotels is talking about it's going to shut down during the week now and only be open on weekends. So can you imagine trying to have an event where we would say to you, we're not sure where we're going to have it, but come out to Vegas and we'll figure it out. We couldn't do. So anyway, we had to make the tough decision to take it virtual a while back. Well, now in hindsight, gosh, what a fortuitous decision, because there's no way we could have had it right live going on with, how do you put, 100 plus people in a room and all that kind of thing. So anyway, this is our last time to do the summit. It is totally virtual this year. And we are so excited about it because it's virtual means that more people can get involved, not only for us in terms of space at the hotel meeting room, which is not required anymore, but now you don't have to buy a ticket to come to Las Vegas and you don't have to pay for 2-3 nights hotel room and you don't have to buy meals. And because of that savings, and we don't have to rent hotel, meeting rooms and coffee at $500 a pot or, and things like that. So because it's virtual, we can pass that savings on to you. And now from now to July 20th, it's only $97 to go. It's only $97 to take part in the program. And we have a VIP program that you get $100 off until July 20th. So now is the time. And Brian, thank you for signing up for that. I love that. Jerry, I'm telling you, I'm banking on virtual as well. I totally agree with you. It is the future. There were about 20 speakers that got together last night on a Zoom call. Folks that I just have such abundant respect for throughout the business. And it was really interesting because a lot of folks didn't agree with me, Jerry. I was talking about what you're talking about. And they say, well, when this leaves, we're going to go back to speaking like it's always been. I don't know that that's ever going to happen. Or I don't know if it's going to happen for a long, long time, because I think we like the ability. We'll go to more meeting. We like the ability to get online like this and talk like this. It's a sea change. I think we're going to see more what I'm calling hybrid meetings. So, for example, if the company is based in Indianapolis, they bring in the local team in Indianapolis, but they do it almost like a studio. And then the people all over the country or all over the world will watch it online. And the company doesn't have to pay for hotel rooms. The company doesn't have to pay for flights, but you can have that live audience feeling as well. And I'm banking on it like you. I think it is the future of our business. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Yes, and you don't have to wait in the check-in line at the Luxor, which last year was excruciating. It's a good thing they bought us drinks that night, right? So that's that. There we go. Just come to the house. Tammy would be so impressed. Come on out, Kit. We'll just all gather by the pool and no, wait a minute, it's 110 degrees. All right, so we won't gather by the pool. We'll just all sit in the living room and have a big old time. Weldon, great to see you. I appreciate that. Ron, you're going to be in airports those days. Oh man, well, it's been great having you these last couple of years. I really wish you could be with us. And to my guru of live streaming, Ken Walls, and my partner in crime on Sunday nights with our show. Great to see you, Ken. Really glad you're here. Glad everybody's jumping on here today. I appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about the topic of capacity and what that means in our lives and in our business. I was joking in a speech right before everything shut down that there's somebody that I think really needs to be fired. And that person is who is anticipating call volume for many of the places where I'm doing business. You know why I'm saying that? Because how many times are you calling in and you get the message, because of higher than anticipated call volume, it's going to take us a while to get to your call? Well, I mean, I've been hearing that message now for a year. And if you haven't adjusted your anticipated call volume over the year, holy cow, when are you going to catch up with it? Right? I mean, but that's what they say is we've reached our capacity for phone calls. We've reached our capacity in terms of people that we can serve. We've reached our capacity. And it got me thinking about what is capacity? What is your capacity or my capacity? And what can we do about that? Because if we are serving or selling or doing business at our capacity, then is that the limit of our ability to perform? I mean, what is the capacity? Yeah, Charles, exactly. The expected wait time is 3 hours and 45 minutes. It's a hot button for me. I'm trying to spend money with you, or else I have spent money with you. And it shows that you aren't willing to invest because evidently you either take me for granted or don't value my time or whatever it might be. By the way, a quick aside, I talked yesterday about Uber Eats, did not hear back, even posted it, linked it to them, didn't hear anything back. Because we didn't get the meal from Outback that we had been dying to get. We used DoorDash last night, ordered the same meal from Outback that we had ordered the night before through Uber Eats. We ordered it this time through DoorDash, and last night, DoorDash not only got here on time, they got here 10 minutes earlier than the original predicted time. So they were ahead of schedule. So thank you, DoorDash, for doing it right. Yeah, by the way, Jerry said Kit was talking about coming to the house. As a matter of fact, we had a reception here at the house for our VIP members of the Ultimate Business Summit. And Tammy and I just had a great time hosting everybody. And my friends from Indianapolis will appreciate, I shared St. Elmo's cocktail sauce with our friends from out of town. Well, everybody was from out of Indianapolis. But hey, John, I'm so excited that you're coming. Guy, that's great that you're going to be at UBS. That's fantastic. Really, really, really glad that you're coming. So, by the way, if you're wondering where to go to check it out, it's ultimatebusinesssummit.com. ultimatebusinesssummit.com. So I got thinking about capacity. We hear that such a business has reduced, airlines are reducing their flights to lower their capacity. Yeah, and it got me thinking about what is capacity and what's our personal and professional capacity, and what could we do to get better with our capacity. So I started at the dictionary, and the dictionary tells us that capacity is, quote, the maximum amount that something can contain. So if I have a coffee cup, the capacity of this coffee cup is so many ounces, and that is the maximum amount that coffee cup can contain without overflowing. So we know what the capacity is of a cup like that, but what is it of us? What is our capacity? And also the question is, are you performing up to your current capacity? Are we doing what we can? Are we doing all that we can? Are we delivering at a level of our capacity? So let's think about how we can make that happen. First of all, unlike a cup, there is a difference with human beings. And that is, as you probably guessed, you can expand your capacity. Your capacity is not something static when it comes to your performance or my performance or how we think or how we do. We can expand and enhance our personal and professional capacity. I've always loved the Jim Rohn story about the cup, because when he says, when the cup is full, is that all it can hold? And I'm listening to Jim Rohn talk about this. Well, yeah, when the cup's full, that's all it can hold. And he said, no, it's not, because if you pour some out, then the cup can hold more. And one of the ways that the cup expands its capacity is to distribute its contents to others. And I love that analogy, because if we are contributing what is in our capacity, one of the amazing aspects of it is it expands our own. In other words, when we share, we grow. So one of the ways that you can expand your capacity is to take what you have and what you know and what you believe and what you've learned and where your expertise is, and share that. Because when you share your capacity expands. When you share your capacity, you have, like the cup, the ability to take more on and to grow in your capacity. So the first thing I'm going to suggest to you about expanding your capacity is to share your capacity. Let's catch up here. Charles says, for solopreneurs, yeah, we have to fully understand that. Yeah, and Charles, one of the things is I think we have to walk that line, don't you, between we want to grow our capacity and grow what we're able to do, yet at the same time, we don't want to constantly feel overloaded, that, my gosh, I'm at capacity, I'm not. It's one of the strange aspects of this to me, that sometimes to grow our capacity, we have to reduce our activity. In other words, if you're always feeling overwhelmed, I'm be honest, I'm going through this to a degree right now. If you're always feeling overwhelmed, it is difficult to get yourself up to perform at capacity all the time. And can you perform at capacity all the time? I think there has to be an ebb and flow to it. There has to be an ebb and flow. Ken likes DoorDash better than Uber Eats. Oh, do they pay better? I hope so. That's another good reason to go with them, Ken. Yeah, Pam, St. Elmo's cocktail sauce, you can't beat it. Hey, Bruce, looking forward to being with you on your show, your program here before too long. Yeah, about 23.8 hours a day. There you go. Oh, thanks, Pam. I love it. I love doing this. And Brian, yeah, we don't know what we don't know. Yeah, and that's why we have to examine it, right? Is to learn more. You're exactly right. We don't know what we don't know. So we've got to continue to learn and grow with that. Okay, so if we are going to expand it, first I'm talking about sharing, but this next part I think is really counterintuitive. And it's the difference between how do I put this? It's the difference between the rah-rah type of for lack of a better term, motivation. I prefer to think of it like attempts at inspiration, because I've seen so many speakers, they've used that analogy that you're only using 10% of your brain, and there's been studies that prove that's not true. Most of us are using much more of our potential than 10%. There are lots of studies that have proven that old line that speakers have used is not true. But we always, the coach saying you got to give 110%. That's impossible. That's why they call it 100%, right? I mean, 100% is 100%, right? So what I need to do is not give 110%. What I need to do is to expand the capacity of what that 100% is. Did I say that right? Did that make sense? In other words, the old thing we hear about, I've got to give 110%. No, 100% is 100%. That's complete, right? I mean, I can't spend 110% of my bank account. I might try, but 100% is all there is. So the goal is not to give 110%. The goal is to expand the capacity so that your 100% is more. That's where we've got this wrong so much of the time. So how do you expand your capacity? And here's the most counterintuitive part of it when you really look at human performance and when you really look at our ability to deliver. And that is, you expand your capacity by doing less. Does that surprise you? You expand your capacity by doing less. In other words, you want to do less on a bigger scale. So many of us are trying to do so many things. I need to hear today's message as much as I appreciate delivering it to you. We want to do everything. And therefore, we don't grow our capacity on what's most essential. It gets back to something I've quoted before, the Stephen Covey line about we are ruled by the tyranny of the urgent as opposed to the important. And our capacity can expand when we do less on a bigger scale. And that's a challenge that we all face because there's so many demands placed on our time. There's so many demands placed on our talent. There's so many demands placed on everything that we do that we end up. Are you like this? I feel like that hummingbird that's dashing from one flower to the other. I got to get this done and this done and this done and this done. And we do a good job at a lot of things, but not a distinctive job at one or two. And our capacity would expand through the power of creating distinction in limited areas, as opposed to doing a lot of things on a smaller scale. In other words, doing fewer things on a bigger scale expands your capacity much more than doing a lot of things on a small scale. Robert, yes, focus, niche, expertise. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Jeffrey, what a great, runaway, as Jack Welch called it. We can always pour more concrete to extend the runway. Yep. Yeah. A great post I read this morning, by the way, Jeffrey, an interview with Bill McDermott, who was the CEO of SAP and who knew Jack Welch. And he was talking about how management has changed. And what Welch did was exactly right for the time that he lived in. Right, he was the leading for that set of circumstances, and interesting to think about how that would work today. That you don't necessarily need to be number one or number two, but what you do need to be is distinctive in your field. That may mean number one or number two. It might mean the preferred choice at a smaller scale. And it ties in with what we're talking about today. Hey, Jess, always great to see you. Yeah, I saw they're adding that to the dictionary. Irregardless. I hate that. I hate they are adding that to the dictionary because being a quasi, I'm not fanatical about it, but a quasi language snob. There were two words, the two phrases that always bother me. Irregardless. No, it's not irregardless. It's just regardless. Just regardless. That's all you need. Or referring back is the other one that got me, Jess. Referring back. Well, we don't refer forward. So you can just say referring, and it has to be going back because you can't refer forward, right? So that's one there. Hey, Brian says John Wooden has an amazing story quote about this. One of his players not showing up for practice. Yeah. I love Bill Walton tells the story, and maybe it's a similar one, but Bill Walton tells the story about, Coach, I don't want to show up for practice, and I don't want to cut my hair. Was another one that Walton said. And John Wooden told him that was absolutely fine. He could wear his hair any way he wanted. He'd come go to practice. He could do whatever he wanted, but John Wooden could do whatever he wanted when it came to filling out the lineup cards and who was going to play. So, regardless of, there's consequences to all behavior. So, getting back to this, what we want to do is less on a bigger scale. I've worked with people who were too good at doing less. Yes. Good. Okay. So we want a degree of excellence at what we're doing. And so I was having a conversation with my friend, Nido Qubein, Dr. Nido Qubein, of course, the president of High Point University, where I have the privilege of being on their in-residence faculty. And Nido said something that really, really shocked me because he's done such a brilliant job with High Point, and he is such a renowned and just phenomenal business person. And so when he said this, I wrote this down because I thought this was so powerful. He said, focus is more important than revenue. Let that soak in for a second. Focus is more important than revenue. And I've got my little book here where I wrote that down. And I thought, how interesting that someone who has generated so much revenue through his activity is saying that focus is more important than revenue. And then he turned it on me and he said, Scott, have you not read your own book? What's the first cornerstone of distinction? It's clarity, which is focus. It's being clear about what you're about. And it was the blinding flash of the obvious. Yeah, it's a very similar thing. Where is your focus? Because without focus, you won't create the revenue stream that you desire. And if you have revenue without focus, how will you take it to the next level? How will you expand your capacity? So it begins by saying, I'm going to do less at a bigger scale, but I'm going to do less. The way I do it bigger is enhancing the focus on what I'm doing. Make sense? In other words, when you have that incredible focus, you tend to, and it gets down to a question of personal and professional discipline, you tend to eliminate the peripheral. You tend to separate the wheat from the chaff. You tend to really center on what is crucial and what is critical and what is important, and you get frustrated about wasting time on what's outside your focus. Now, by the way, one of the things about any organization or any team, whether it's a small business or a big business, is when I'm saying waste time, I'm not saying that activity is a waste. I'm just saying somebody else needs to be focusing on that it's in their wheelhouse, not you. There's so many things that we could think of that are not in our wheelhouse, yet we feel like we've got to do it, and because we're working at our capacity, and when we need to delegate, dump, or delay it. But focus is the key, and that's how we do less on a bigger scale. That focus is more important than revenue. So I would ask you, where's your focus? I ask this at meetings all the time. I'm doing a program this weekend for a friend, and she has some of the leading health professionals in the world, doctors and surgeons. And some of the leading health professionals all over the world. JJ Virgin I'm so honored, has asked me to be a part of her program this weekend and speak with them. And she's telling me some of the people that are going to be there. And it's medical professionals I've seen on television. It's really incredible. Well, anyway, one of the questions that I'm going to ask, and I ask this in a lot of programs, and I'll ask you right now, is what do you sell? No, I mean, seriously. I mean, we all sell something. What do you sell? And it's really interesting to me that there is a certain percentage that will respond by saying the product. Okay. I sell coffee cups. All right. So how do you differentiate yourself from other people in your marketplace? How do you expand your capacity? Well, I got to sell more cups. I reckon, that's what I do. I sell cups. So that's one way to think about it. There are other folks that will focus on, I create better beverage experiences. See, because I can make this logo on your cup, or I can make the cup a shape, or I can make the cup feel really good in your hand. And what I do is I create better beverage experiences. Now that may sound a little out there, but then stop and think about it. Do I really need a better cup? Do I need more cups? I don't need more cups. I don't need better cups, but better beverage experience is kind of interesting to me. So then here's the next question I ask. If I went to your customers and I said, oh, the better beverage experience, would your customers go, absolutely, that's what they talked about with me? Or would they say, oh, I just thought he sold coffee cups? Here's the important aspect of that. I have noticed in many programs, when I ask people what do they sell, and they tell me better beverage experience, and then if it's a group I'm doing an extensive program with, I'll even go to their customers and find out, you might have said that's what you sell, but if you're not having a conversation with your customers about that, are you really selling it? If you're not talking to customers about it, hey, here's a clue, you ain't selling it. So then how do you distinguish your better beverage experience from someone else's in your field? And that's where distinction comes in. And that's the process that we want to teach and we want to work with to get you to that level. That's expanding capacity. It's focusing on that better beverage experience and then rethinking, okay, how do we make this better? How do we make the experience better? How do we do everything that we can to make it stand out? Because when you stand out, you earn more. And that's expanded capacity as well. Thanks, Jess. I appreciate that. Robert, same here. Great to see you. Bruce, yeah, if you try to market to everyone, you reach no one. No one is loyal to a generic. No one has ever walked out the door and said, man, I love those guys. They're exactly like everybody else. No person has ever proposed and said, will you marry me? You're just like every other girl I ever dated. I mean, that just doesn't work. The motto of our local coffee shop is, we sell liquid happiness. I love that. Sounds like a tavern, but I still love it, Bruce. Hey, to me, coffee is liquid happiness. I love that. Yeah, I didn't want $5 off. I wanted a better experience. And DoorDash, and guess what, kid? So guess who we'll order from? I mean, we don't order out all the time every night, but we order probably fairly frequently. And yeah, so DoorDash became our preferred provider. Why? Because, by the way, did you notice too, in other words, me saying that they were early was exceptional, not because they under-promised, over-delivered, but because they did what they said they would do. I don't expect them to be early next time. But what it did impress on me is they picked up the food, they brought it here, they dropped it off as quickly as they could. And because of traffic or whatever, the stars were aligned and they got through traffic and all. But it gave me the experience that I wanted. And that's what we are looking for as customers. I think it made me wonder, because DoorDash doesn't drive people around like Uber does. And I think sometimes that Uber Eats delivery, correct me if I'm wrong, but Uber Eats delivery are Uber drivers who are filling in their schedule by dropping off food. Made me wonder if part of the reason I didn't get my food is because the driver is going to pick up the food, all of a sudden had a chance to get a better fare to take a person to the airport. I don't know, but it does make you wonder. But back to the point about capacity. Let's remember that capacity is the maximum amount that something can contain. So it's the old cliche about not stuffing, a 10-pound bag with 20 pounds of stuff, right? In other words, we need to grow our capacity, not stuff more into what we've got. That's when we get stressed out, burned out, all those other challenges. It's to grow what we can contain. So expanding our capacity in a counterintuitive way is doing less. In other words, less at a bigger scale. That requires focus, and focus is more important than revenue. And I'll leave you with one last question. Yeah, exactly, Charles. You bet. DoorDash focuses on the one thing, getting your food to you. So here's the last question I'll ask you. Will others expand their capacity because they interacted with you? In other words, as you're pouring out so that your vessel holds more, will your pouring out also help inspire others to do the same? For when we do that, that is true growth in capacity. Hey, thanks everybody. It's always such a privilege to have you here for Daily Distinction. It means the world to me to be here. Please go to ultimatebusinesssummit.com. Take a look, see what the program is. If you haven't registered yet, at least go, if you would, take a look and see about the program. We would love to have you be a part of it coming up in August. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow on our next edition of Daily Distinction. I'll see you tomorrow.